90%. Okay, Peah. Um, if a person collects sheaves to make hats or kumsa'ot, or a cake or sheaves, he is not liable to shikakah. If taken from there to the threshing floor, he is liable to shikakah. If a person collects sheaves for the heap, it is liable to shikakah. From there to the threshing floor, it is not liable to shikakah. This is the general rule. Whoever collects sheaves to take it to a place that marks the conclusion of their work is liable to shikakah. From there to the from there to the threshing floor, it is not liable to shikakah. To a place that does not mark the conclusion of the work, he is not liable to shikakah. And from there to the threshing floor, it is liable to shikakah. Um, the Beit Shammai said the renunciation of ownership in favor of the poor is a valid renunciation of ownership. Beis Hillel says it is not a valid renunciation of ownership unless it is declared ownerless in favor of the rich, also as the Shemitah. If all the sheaves of the field are a kav each, and each one is four kavs, and he forgot it, Beit Shammai says it is not shikakah, and Beis Hillel says it is shikakah. The sheaf that is close to a stone face or to a heap, to cattle, or to implements, then he forgot it. Beit Shammai said it is not shikakah, and Beis Hillel says it is.
Okay, so that's an important thing to see. That this is one of these places where Beis Hillel is more machmir than Beis Shammai. Um, right? That that Beis Shammai say if you left a marker, then if it was near something that was a landmark, then we say,
Right.
hey, yeah, that's not Shechcha, says Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel said, nope, sorry, you lost it. Um, and Hefker, declaring something Hefker only for poor people, it says Beis Shammai says that's fine, and it's patur from Chumas and Masters. That's the important point in Mishnah Aleph there, is that Chumas and Masters, you because you can give a gift to anyone you want. You say I only want to give this gift to Aniyim, that's fine. You're allowed to do that, but they still have to take Chumas and Masters then. But if you make
Okay.
it Hefker, then it's patur from Chumas and Masters. But Hefker also means, according to Beis Hillel, that it has to be that even rich people are allowed to take it. Okay. Rosh Shuros. So for here we have this handy dandy diagram I've got in Kahati. I assume that there's also one in the
Uh,
article.
right. Same thing.
Oh, hang on, but you've also got Kahati over here.
I have Kati. This one is Kati. Yes. Right.
Right. We've got this nice little diagram of all the rows over there. So what those dots in the diagram represent is each one is a pile. Okay, the reapers already went through and cut all the grain
Mhm.
and made things into little sheaves, and it's nicely laid out in a matrix over here. Okay, um, so now uh, what constitutes shikha? Um, it's got to be something that the harvester passed and did not take.
Right.
Now, how do you know which ones he's taken? It depends on, the direction he's walking, because he could be doing a sort of a zigzag pattern across
Uh,
the thing. So, for example, we've got this matrix over here labeled Aleph to Yud 1 to 10. Okay. So now the Rosh Hashanah, what are the heads of the rows? Omer shen kenegdo mochiach. So you can tell by what happens with the Omer next to it, whether it's Shecha or not. Okay. So how do we see this? HaOmer shehechzik bo leholecho el ha'ir. Um, and which okay, basically what that means, before we go into what he took to into the city, well, let's just dive into that first sentence. So if he starts out at Aleph 1, where the first arrow is, and starts walking to number 5, and then he turns down and goes down to base 5.
your diagram must be different because my arrow is on base Aleph or base one. The
Uh,
arrow pointing toward the south is on row B and is one.
Well, actually, that's interesting, because yeah, mine's got it on Aleph 1. Just can you hold it up for me? Let me just take a look.
Um,
How curious. That is very curious, because that is not how it is in the original.
right.
At any
That's when
rate,
I heard
so let's
when
say
you were saying that. It didn't. I want to
take
change
that
it.
as a printing error because it doesn't actually make sense. Take it as a printing error. Take it from because if you take a look inside the Kahati explanation, it starts out. It explains that he starts out in Shura Aleph. That's exactly explicitly what he says. So I think that the arrow in there is a misprint. Okay, so
They just made a they
he
made a
starts
correction. So,
yeah. So he starts in Aleph one and goes to number five, and then he turns down towards the west.
mhm.
Okay. And then he turns back and goes back in descending numbers from base 5 4 3 2 1. So
Right.
the question is like, do we say that number six was forgotten? Well, we can't say that number six was forgotten because you can see that it's still contiguous with the rest of the field. As opposed to, let's say he did 1 to 5 and he skipped number six and went 7 through 10, and then he turned down to base and just did the whole of base. Then
Right.
clearly Aleph six is Shikha.
Okay. Right.
Okay. So that's what we mean that by the Omer that's next to it proves whether it's Shikha or not. HaOmer shehechzik bo leholicho el ha'ir. Now he picked up an Omer and he decided he was going to take that one into the city. Okay. And so having picked it up, he's then goes on his way, perhaps with a number of other sheaves. And he puts and he on his way he stops to tie a shoelace, puts one down, picks them up again, carries on walking, and there's a sheaf left still in the field. So now we say, oh, hang on, is that called shikha? Says the Mishnah, modim she'eno shikha. This is not called shikha because he already made a kinyan on it. He picked it up
Mm.
and he's already on his way somewhere. And the fact that he put it down again and forgot it after that, that's not what we're talking about with shikha. Okay. Mishnah Dalet. Eluhein Rosh Shuros. So now here's how we explain what is a Rosh Shuros, Rosh Shura, the head of a row, and it isn't necessarily something that's at the beginning at the edge of the field. Okay. For example, you could have a case of Shnaim she'eschilu me'emtza hashura. You have two guys, two harvesters who walked into the side of the field and turned back to each other, and they're intending to go in opposite directions. Okay. Ze panav letzafon v'ze panav ledarim. So you can see there's a little diagram over there that shows one going between 7 and 8, the other one between 8 and 9, and they turn their backs to each other and start walking to the south and north respectively. Okay.
I have a I just have the two parallel lines going between 8 and 9. It's on 8, seems like.
Right, those two parallel lines represent the harvesters. Those are the
Right.
two. Those are the two guys who walked into the field, and they and they start walking in opposite directions. V'shachachu lifneihem u'la'achreihem. And they forget sheaves that are in front of them and the sheaf that's behind them. Okay, so number 8 is lying there untouched. Okay, but and meanwhile, one of the harvesters was walking. Let's say the guy is walking to the south. He's got 9, 10. He picks up 9 and 10, skips 11, and does 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, es shelifneihem shicha. Whatever was ahead of them, that's called shicha. Okay, so number 11 over there, if the southbound harvester forgot number 11, that's called shechicha.
Mhm.
Number 8 is not called shechicha because each one of them thought that the other guy was taking number 8. Okay, so if they had to they could if they wanted to turn around, if they turned around and noticed, oh yeah, I thought you were taking that one. No, I thought you were taking that one. So it's not that they just forgot that it was there. It's just that they knew it was there. They just thought the other guy was taking it, and that's not
If
called shikha. It's
one
only
of the guys started at 11 and they left 9 and 10, that would not be called shikha then.
well, it depends where he went into the field from. If he walked past it, and that's really going to be the point, is did he walk past it? If he didn't walk past it, it can't be called shechicha.
Mhm.
Okay. As Yachid shehischil rosh hashura, if one person started at the very end of the field, v'shachach lefanav ula and he forgot sheaves that were ahead of him and sheaves that were behind him. Um, so unfortunately, this Mishnah is like bothers me a little bit because Oh, and hang on, Shalefnehem Shechacha. Right. So this Mishnah bothers me a bit because it reverses the meaning of Lifnehem and Achreihem. It changes so it seems like it's coming with a contradiction between what's ahead and what's behind, and really it's not. Um, he's busy walking through the field. So let's say he's walking from position number one, and he goes and picks up two, three, four, and he skips number five and carries on. And and he carries on picking up the thing. So he's forgotten number five behind him. And while he's walking, he takes a look ahead and says, "Ah, I can see that there are, let's say six piles ahead of me." So he's between eight and nine. He says, "I see six piles ahead of me." Okay, that's great. And he didn't realize that there was one that that there were actually seven. So one of them, and let's say it's now the one in position 11, he forgot was there,
Right.
but he hasn't got there yet.
Mhm.
Okay. Shelafanav eno shechicha. Whatever's still ahead of him and he hasn't walked there yet, that's called shechicha. Shelacharav shechicha. And whatever he's walked past, yeah, that is called shechicha. Okay. Mipnei shehu be'bal tashuv. And that is the important point over here. The pasuk says, lo yashuv. He's not allowed to return to go back to pick up things that he forgot in the field. But if he's not returning, if he's going there for the first time, that's okay. Even if he forgot that it was there. Okay. זה הכלל. Your general rule is כל שהוא בבלת שוב שכחה. Anything that you would have to be returning to pick it up, that's called שכחה. But שאינו בבלת שוב, אינו שכחה. If you haven't been there yet, but you forgot it was there, that's not called שכחה.
Mhm.
Okay. Mishnah Hay, Shnei Omerim Shichacha, Ushlosha Einan Shichacha. So if the harvester forgot two sheaves, that belongs to the poor. But if he forgot three sheaves, that's two chashov, and we're not going to make the Bala Sadeh lose three sheaves over there. Shnei Tziburei Zaysim V'charovin Shichacha, and two groups of olive trees or carob trees. That's if he somehow he manages to forget the entire tree, that's called shechicha as well. So you also get shechicha by trees. Um, Ushlosha einan shechicha, and um, and two but three trees is not shechicha. That's too chashuv again. Shnei hutzne pishtan shechicha. Again, the same thing happens with flax. If you've got 2 pounds of flax that were forgotten, that's called shechicha. Shlosha einan shechicha. So the number is what does it over here. Okay. Shnei granim Shnei gargarim, beg your pardon. Shnei gargarim peret. If there are two, so peret, we're now introducing a new concept, which is the loose clusters of grapes. Well, I mean, it's not a cluster. It's hang on, that's olalos. Peret is like leket for grapes. So if
All
two
right.
if two grapes fell on the ground while he's harvesting the grapes, that's called peret, which is the equivalent of leket for a vineyard. Shlosha enan
Mhm.
peret. If he drops three, then he's allowed to pick them up. Shnei shibolim leket. If it's two ears of grain, that's called leket. Shalosh enan leket. Three again is too much to make us penalize the Balasadeh, and he's allowed to pick up all three. Elu Kedivrei Beis Hillel. Now, these numbers are according to Beis Hillel, which is the halacha, but it's important to know. Al Kulan Beis Shammai Omrim Shlosha La'aniyim Va'arba'a L'Baal Hasadeh, L'Baal Habais. So here again, this is where Beis Shammai is more machmir, and they say that three, if you drop three, that's still going to belong to the aniyim, and in all these cases, it has to be four before he putters you.
Sure. According to Beis Shammai.
That's Beis Shammai, yeah. Okay, let's go.
Okay, Peah,
Gimel.
uh, Rabbi Eliezer says land of the court area of a quarter is liable to pay out. Rabbi Yeshua says that which produces shetayim. Rabbi Tarfon says 6 by 6 tefachs. Rabbi Yehuda ben Berev says sufficient to reap and to repeat. And the law is according to his opinion. And Rabbi Kiva says land of any size is liable to pay out, and first fruits, and one can write on the account of a proposed bill and purchase with the property that has no security, with money, with a writ, or with possession. or possession. Um, if a mortally ill person assigns his property in writing and he left any land whatsoever, his gift is valid. If he did not leave any land at all, his gift is not valid. If a person assigns his property in writing to his sons and he assigned to his wife any plot of land, she has lost the ketubah. Rabbi Yossi says if she accepted, then even though he did not assign to her, she has lost the ketubah. If a person assigns his property in writing to a slave, he goes out goes out a freed man. If he left any amount of land, he does not go out a freed man. Rabbi Shimon says he has always been a freed man, unless he says, "Behold, all my property is given to the person so and so, my slave, except for 1/10,000th of it."
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Looks in base 10. Regarding a cucumber that one planted in a flower pot and it grew and extended out of the flower pot, it is tahor. Reb Shimon said, "What is the basis for purifying it? Rather, the tome portion remains with the tuma, and the tahor portion may be eaten." Dung vessels and mud vessels through which the roots can go out but do not render plants susceptible to tuma. A perforated flower pot does not render plants susceptible to tuma, but one that is not perforated does not render plants susceptible to tuma. What is the minimum measure of the hole? Large enough that a small root can grow through it. And if one filled it with soil to its edges, it is like a board that has no rim. There are some items that require hexure but do not require thought, others that require thought and hexure, others that require thought but not hexure, and others neither hexure nor thought. All foods are normally used for consumption by human, require hexure but do not require thought. One cuts off flesh from a person or from a domesticated animal, from a wild animal or from fowl, from the carcass of a non-kosher bird or chalev in the villages and all other field greens with the exception of shamarkim and mushrooms. Rabbi Yehuda says with the exception of field leek, perslan, and parsley. Rabbi Shimon says with the exception of pardons, and Rabbi Yossi says with the exception of galushin.
Sorry, hold
These
on.
require,
We went too far. I lost concentration. We should have stopped at the after Aleph. Let's go back.
okay, so,
Yeah.
all right, so I'll put this over.
Okay.
Uh,
Mikvos.
okay.
Uh, hey base.
If it was directed over vessels over a bench, Rabbi Yehuda says it remains as it was. But Rabbi Yossi says it is like a mikveh, except that one may not averse anything over the bench. If the water of a spring branched out resembling a centipede and one added to it and thus caused it to flow further, it remains as it was. But if it was standing water and one added to it and thus caused it to flow, that it is equal to a mikveh in that it purifies only with still water and is equal to a spring that one may immerse things that therein wherever its mouth. All the seas, all the seas are like a mikveh, and is said, and the gathering mikveh of waters he called seas. These are the words of Rameir. Rabbi Yehuda says only the great sea is like a mikveh, and it says seas only because it contains many kinds of seas. Rabbi Yossi says all the seas can purify while flowing, and they can unfit for zavim, for the tzorim, and for consecrating, therefore, purification of water. Okay,
Kelem.
okay. Olive tests between the Ulam and the altar is holier than it. It is that the Kohanim with blemishes or untrimmed hair may not enter there. The hekel is holier than it because in that one whose hands and feet are unwashed may not enter there. The Holy of Holies is holier than they, and that no one may enter there except the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur and at the time of the service. Rabbi Yossi said with regard to five matters, the area between the ulam and the altar is on a par with the hekel. That those with the blemishes or untrimmed hair, or those who have drunk wine, or those with unwashed hands and feet may not enter there, and they must remove themselves from the area between the ulam and the altar when the incense is burned. Wooden utensils, leather utensils, bone utensils, and glass utensils, their flatwares are tahor, but the hollowwares are tameh. If they break, they become tahor. If one made the broken utensils into new utensils, they are susceptible to tumah from then on. Earthenware vessels and nested net utensils are identical in their laws of tumah. They contract tumah and transmit tumah via airspace. They contract tumah via receptacle in their exterior, and they do not contract tumah via their exterior. The breakage is their tahara. The smallest of the earthenware utensils in the bottoms of walls, which can rest without support. Their measure of susceptibility to tumah is far enough oil to anoint an infant and up to a log. Utensils containing from a log up to a saw are measured with a quarter log. Utensils containing from a saw up to two saw are measured with half a log. Utensils containing two saw up to three and up to 5 are measured with a log. And these are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Kiva says, I do not assign them a measurement for rather small earthenware, their bottoms and their bottoms or walls which can rest without support. The measure of a contraction of two is enough oil to anoint an infant, and this applies to utensils the size of small pots. Utensils from the size of small pots up to loaden barrels are measured with a quarter log. Utensils the size of a loaden barrels up to lechem and lechem barrels are measured with a half log. Utensils from the size of lechem and barrels are up large casks that are measured with a log. And Yochanan Mazakai says large casks that measure is 2 lugim, galim flask, and small barrels. The greater for their bottoms is a smaller amount, and they have no walls. Okay.
Okay. Let's go to.
Okay. Base Gimel. Man may not open a bakery or a dye shop under the storehouse of another, nor a cattle shed. In truth, the case of a storehouse of wine, they have permitted these except for a cattle shed. A store in a courtyard, one can block him by cleaning. I cannot sleep due to the noise of those entering and leaving, and one may make utensils and go out and sell them in the marketplace. But one cannot block them by cleaning. I cannot sleep due to the noise of the hammer, or the noise of the mill, or the noise of the children. One whose wall was near the wall of another may not place another wall near it unless the distances are 4 amos from it. And with regard to windows, he must leave 4 amos above them and 4 below and opposite them. One must distance a ladder 4 cubits from a dovecote, and that so that a marten should not spring into it, and a wall 4 cubits from an agora, so that he can stand the ladder there. One must distance a dovecote 50 amos from a town, and a man may not build a dovecote within his own property unless he owns 50 cubits of land in every direction. If Yehuda says an area of 4 kor, the extent of a dove's flight, if he bought it, even if it is within an area of a quarter kav, it remains standing. Okay.
Okay.
I'm only going fast because I want to get to the
Thank
shul.
you. Appreciate it because I'm already hitting
Okay.
my limit. Go.
Idalid.
Yeah.
Whoever required Nesachim would go to the Yochanan minister over the tokens, give him money and receive a token from him. Then he would come to Achaya, a minister over all the Nesachim, give him the token and receive Nesachim from him. In evening, they would meet. Achaya would take out the tokens and receive the corresponding amount of money. If they had anything left over, it belonged to the temple treasury. But if there was a shortage, Yochanan would pay the difference from his own funds. And the temple treasury had the upper hand. If someone lost his token, they would have him wait until the evening. If they found surplus funds for him corresponding to his token, they would give him the sachem, but if not, nothing was given to him. They were inscribed with the date because of the deceptive ones. There were two collection chambers in the temple. One was called the chamber of the discreet, the other was called the utensil chamber. What purpose did the chamber of the discreet serve? If God-fearing would deposit money into it quietly, and the poor sons of good families supported themselves from it discreetly. What purpose did the utensil chamber serve? Whoever placed a utensil to the temple would toss it into this chamber, and once every 30 days, the treasury would open the chamber. Every utensil for which they found a use toward the keep up the temple, they would leave, and the remainder would be sold for their value, and the receiver would go to the chamber holding the funds for the upkeep of the temple.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Great. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.